Hello and welcome to another Ouroboros review. Today is not going to be a review though. I'm very excited to present the great sword from Monster Hunter World. This is by far the biggest collectible I have, and it's not even a collectible. This is actually something I made. So today is not a review, it's a showcase on something I worked very hard on, and as you can tell, it doesn't actually fit in the camera's view. Like, the camera currently is right on the back of the wall, and it's about this far away from the wall here. So it is massive. It spans about 2.2 meters long. It's about 10 kilos in weight. It doesn't seem that heavy, but when you're holding it out, it is pretty heavy because all the weight is pulling it down forward. As you can tell, I made a really cool stand for it. I have a Scout Fly's little thing that they hook on their belt, and I'd say 98% of this entire thing here is all handmade. We do have a few 3D printed parts, which is the plate in front here. I've got another plate in the back. The lantern itself is 3D printed, but edited by myself, painted. The leather wrapping around it is also added. So the material that this thing is made out of, it's kind of like a surfboard. The outside is mostly fiberglass and resin, and then the inside is a two-part resin that when you mix together, it foams up. You might have seen some sort of video. So the outside is, externally it's very hard, but internally it's very soft. The silver bits here is wood that I painstakingly hammered to get that forged look. It took about 3 days, maybe an hour and a half each day to hammer out all the parts. This section here is acrylic. It's just layered acrylic and then bent into shape. And then similar to this, where I have put wood over the top of it to give it that forged look, just so all the materials matched. So if this was acrylic, it wouldn't match as well as this bit here. This is a solid piece of wood that I cut up. This is solid piece of wood too. The handle goes straight through to about here, and that was purely just for strength because of how heavy the front end could be. It is made out of a material called FRP, which is a pipe made out of fiberglass and resin, and then wrapped with leather. 2 pieces of leather. The darker leather here is one piece, and then the thin leather up here is another piece that I've glued together. All the bolts are all found, and yeah, so let's take a closer look at everything. We'll start off with the base as usual. So this is the size of it. It is absolutely massive. Very, very thick too. It's not just a thin blade at all. I tried my absolute best to follow the size of it to scale. The hunters in Monster Hunter, I looked it up. As much as you can trust Wikipedia, they're 170 centimeters, I'm 180, so I scaled this to my size as I'm the hunter. But yeah, as you can tell, it's a really big sword. But moving on to the base. Alright, so the base is made out of real wood and real bolts. The base is found materials, it's all pallet wood, so it had a natural kind of scratching up and chipping and denting and all that kind of stuff. What I did was I put that together, burnt the wood, sanded it back, and added a little bit of paint just to add some extra depth to the wood. The same with the supports and masts of the stand, all found wood, all damaged, dented, burnt, sanded, and slightly painted. It's a consistency there. I just wanted something that made it look like it's in your camp area, and as soon as you're ready to go, you grab your weapon, you grab your lantern, and then you go hunt some monsters. The rope is the same deal, found stuff. The rope was wrapped around a parcel for my work, and I was like, I'm going to take this home and use it for something. And yeah, it actually just ties the piece together just ever so slightly to make it look like it's been held together by bolts, screws, whatever, and some rope. The teeth down here was also made by me. It is 3D printed parts from here down. That was meant for the actual sword, but they were too small. So I added in like the root of the tooth and a couple holes with the same leather that's wrapped around the handle, and made it into some sort of a charm necklace or something. But it looks nice. on the actual stand. Looks like it's meant to be there. The Scout Fly lantern is massive for what you think it might be, but it actually is this big. There are smaller ones in-game, but this particular one was from the trailer character that was wearing this, which is actually a character he trains you up. It's gold, it's got a silver top, real metal little latch thing here. The hook is just found stuff. The pouch I made out of leather, sewed together. It doesn't work, but it's just magnetized on the side there. The inside of the lantern is also 3D printed, but what I did was I took the green plastic from a Sprite bottle and rolled it up, dumped it in the actual thing, and then put LED lights inside, make it look like it's a little Scout Fly hive. The batteries and the switch is inside this, so I take it apart. Well, kind of take it apart. Real leather. The top red leather here is the same leather that's on the handle for the sword, as well as the teeth, the necklace. And then this leather here, same thing, it's on the actual sword, but I have this little punch that makes it look like scales. And I thought it'd be really cool to make it silver, to make it stand out a little bit, and maybe have some sort of Tobi Kadachi skin wrapped around it. I thought that would be really cool. The blade catcher, I wanted the blade as visible as possible. So I added this little catcher, which is 2 pieces of wood, and then bottom piece here is indented so that this just slots in there and it doesn't go anywhere, which is really nice. Some more ropes added in just to give it that extra touch. Nice chipping from more palletized wood. Bolts are just put in there to make it look cool. But yeah, it turned out really good for what it is. But now we can move on to the blade. So the pommel was an absolute pain in the ass to do. It was so difficult because it's not this shape all the way around. It's oval shape. So making this out of a solid piece of wood was very challenging. Same kind of deal. After it was made, I hammered the crap out of it to make it look like it's been forged, and then just added in a little stopper here so that slots into the pipe. The leather is, again, real leather, slightly painted, but it is 2 different kinds, as I mentioned in the intro. And yeah, so silver paint, make blacks, golds, coppers to make it look rusted and slightly weather beaten, but moving down to the rest of it. This itself was very challenging to do. It originally started as a block of wood. I had to cut each individual side of the block to make it that hexagon pattern. It is also redwood, and I don't know if you guys know wood, but redwood is very hard. It's either redwood or it's hardwood. It was very difficult to work with because of the piece of wood, but it was the right size that I needed. So I had no choice but to use it. And as you can see, the gradient between these two, they match. So this is wood covered acrylic, and that's what I wanted. I added in some extra scratches, dents, same deal as the pommel, beat the crap out of it to make it look like it's been forged and been through hell. This wedge here was extremely difficult to make. Because of the acrylic, I had to heat it up and bend it into shape. Had to clamp it here, clamp it down further, and heat it up and slowly bend it. And after I took it out, I would leave it for 24 hours. After I took the clamps off, it would kind of spring back. I think the different layers kind of made it harder to do. So yeah, there is a huge screw going through this, and through this, here and here. So the tension is spread out so that it would stay in place. Because I really didn't want that to affect the wedge, cracking paint on the corners here. I wanted to make it look like it's been welded together. But yeah, moving down. So the wood that covers the sponge material underneath is only about 5 mil thick. So it's very thin wood, but glued on with resin to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. The crest here itself is not colored properly. I kind of wish this bevel on these 4 here would be on the entire X here and these little light things here. But it is how it is, and I don't mind it at all. Each hunter is different, so I thought this could be slightly different too. The hard part was making this look like this. I got away with it, but you can tell that this isn't hammered or forged like back here is. So that's the only problem I have with it. But it is glued on nicely. Yeah, same deal. I hammered the crap out of the wood to make it look like it's forged, painted, and scratched up galore. The little pommel here is cardboard, but it's super glued like crazy, so it would fit over the top of this. I almost glued in the handle without having that on there, and you can't do that. But yeah, real bolts, scratched up, scuffed up, like it's been through battles, been burnt, singed, the works. But yeah, there's not too much to say about the actual piece here, because it's consistent throughout all the metal pieces that this blade portrays. But moving down, we'll take a good look at the actual blade. So the star of the show is the detail in the bone. All hand sculpted. What I had to do was I made this huge rectangle mold and poured this material in and just literally just started hacking away at it. This here, these little bumpy bits here and here, you can actually tell that that's the real foam parts. All the smoothened areas is fiberglassed over. I wanted to have a different gradient with the fiberglassed areas and the sponge looking areas so that it had a different grade of roughness between the entire thing. And yeah, so this is all hand detailed, or it took months and hours, lots of patience to individually Dremel all the cracks, some of the holes, a lot of this stuff, not to mention layering the fiberglass and the resin. It was tough, but it looks really good. All these little holes, stripy bits here are all hand done as well. I'm not too sure if you've ever cracked open a bone or cut through a bone, but there's little pockets of air, and I'm assuming that's what this is here. So that gave it a really nice texture and roughness to what bone looks like without any flesh on it, which is really cool. But moving down, so all the teeth are 3D printed. They are hollow inside that I filled with resin. The tip of the sword I actually made out of a very strong resin and some sort of powder to strengthen resin, just in case something snapped off, you know? Added the bolts in. All the detail, again, is all handmade. The different bump gradients, those holes, and then painted on top of that. It took a lot to paint it. It took a while because of the size of it and the different layers. So it started with cream color, then it was brown wash over it, then it was darker brown wash, and then darker brown in specific areas, like this area is darker than this area down here. And then very slight blacks through the hollow areas there and all the ridges down here. That took a long time. So sculpting it, fiberglassing it, and then painting it took a while, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I would say that mine is less detailed than the game version, but recently for our honeymoon we went to Japan, and they have one of these in the Monster Hunter cafe, and mine is way more detailed, and I was so happy to find that out. Very happy with that. But yeah, that kind of includes the process. So one of the things about this blade, like as I'm making it, I'm thinking about how can someone wield something like this? So I don't know what the creature is that this is from, but I'm assuming it was some sort of dragon or wyvern. Birds in particular have hollow bones. They're fragile bones, not like this I'm assuming, but they are hollow so that they can take flight. So I'm assuming that that's a similar situation, but the larger the creature, the stronger the bone, the stronger the wings. Science, you know? So this is a jaw of some creature. So this hollow bit here is what you would find in this section or this section of a normal skull where the jaw muscles and tendons connect. And then as it comes down, it turns into the actual teeth, which is really cool. And the top of that there and this here is the jaw part. So it almost looks like they've taken this section of some sort of creature, dragon's bones, and made this. Sharpening the bones would show a lot more of these hollow areas, which is really cool. And I appreciated the fact that there is somewhat of a science behind this, or I'm just making up stuff on the spot, who knows. In saying that, this is a really cool design, and that's why I made it. As soon as I started the game, I started with Monster Hunter World. I was watching the trailer with my friend, and I told him, one day I'm going to make that sword. Here it is, life-size sword. This isn't a real skull, by the way. Thanks, Jack of the Dust. It looks really cool. It really just looks like something you'd find in-game, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. What better way to celebrate Monster Hunter Wilds coming out, as well as the 20th anniversary of Monster Hunter, than showcasing something that I hold dear to my heart. My best friend introduced me to Monster Hunter and loved it ever since. I tried some of the older games, but they're not as good. Wilds is phenomenal. Monster Hunter World and Iceborne is really cool. But yes, probably the best design, in my opinion, of the Great Sword in Monster Hunter. And that kind of concludes the video. Alright, well, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the review or showcase. And I tell you what, I feel like a badass that would not be able to do anything in any situation with a sword this big. It's too heavy, it's too clumsy. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this showcase. I'm very proud of this, so I hope you guys liked it.